Hello, everyone, and welcome to Red Alert Diaries Live with Tanya E. Hood. I'm glad that you are here because if you listen to this morning's episode, you know that we have a special guest joining us. And I always offer to have you guys join me live. So I've had a few people. Hey, everybody that is joining us in this live discussion as well. So in this morning's episode, Jana Lee Gattung. She gave us some great insight. So for those of you that have been experiencing personal health crisis and are looking for guidance and inspiration for someone who has successfully navigated their own personal hardships, their own personal emotional things, and health elements, she is going to give us some insight about that because she is also a clinical practice of healing for 30 years and has a master's of acupuncture degree, a functional nutrition certificate, and is a neuroencoding specialist. And that's not real fancy, y'all. So we're going to hear from Miss Jana Lee Gattung. Hey, Jana, share a little bit with the audience. I didn't get the chance to listen to this morning. And if you didn't, go back and listen to this when this is over. Jana.
So I'm excited to be here again. It's really nice to be able to talk to everybody. You know, life is interesting and there's new science coming out. I've had autoimmune issues and health issues my entire life. And kind of went on this healing quest. It's all in the podcast. So for heaven's sakes, do listen to it because it is an amazing story, and that's way condensed compared to what it usually is. But you know, I've had a hard time myself with health issues since birth, and that has led me to not only want to help myself and my family, but to help other people as well. And I am a lifelong learner. I have all these lovely little things behind my name, and that's all fancy and well and good. But the point is, I keep up on research and I keep up on the new things that are coming out in medicine as well as alternative health, because I think that here again, it's all interconnected and we need to have all of it together to be able to really heal from anything. And you know what? We all have health issues. We're going to talk about that this evening. Over 93% of Americans have metabolic unhealth. And that, even if you don't feel like you do, we'll be going into some things tonight that might make you question that. So, anyway, I like to share with with whoever wants to heal, whoever wants to live their best life. Um, Make sure that their children and their parents and themselves are all well. I love to share, and that's why I'm here.
So, Jen, I want to say thank you because we sometimes forget that the legacy that we like to leave, we think about all this money and we think about the houses and cars, but if you don't have your health, how are you going to be able to leave anything for your family? And the thing that I did not understand the importance of until we had our conversation for this morning's episode was about the legacy of sharing how you have been able to maintain a long life. The people in my family lived well into their 90s. I had a great, great, great aunt that lived to be 105 years old, but they didn't tell you what they were doing in the garden. They didn't say, you had to give me insight about what my grandmother gave me when I was younger to deal with the diagnosis of asthma that I don't claim. But I did order the mullein leaf. So thank you. And I feel much better with my sinuses, especially with the change of the seasons. Give us a little more insight for individuals that don't think about how their health is impacted. High blood pressure, diabetes, irritable bowel syndrome. You stated some of those things in this morning's episode. Can you expand?
It comes down to we talk about metabolic health and everybody thinks, oh, it's for people who are overweight. And those are obvious symptoms. And it gets down to cancers and autoimmune issues, everything that you mentioned. Almost every disease comes down to an unhealthy metabolism. And metabolism isn't really about weight, although that has a big part to play. It's that the functions in your body are not running the way that they should. And excuse me, even thin people have this problem. It's more of a visceral fat. And by visceral fat, I mean fat that surrounds your organs, that's inside your torso. So there are people who have diabetes who are actually thin, and everybody's going, but they're thin. Why are they not, healthy? They don't eat bad, but there's other contributors. They probably aren't getting enough exercise. They're probably eating too much of one thing and not enough of another. It's all wrapped up in together, and that's what people don't realize. I love to study blue zones, which are zones here again, like you were talking about, your family member who lived so long, that live well past 100, and they find that it is the whole package. It's community, it's movement, it's eating correctly and whole foods. There's, getting outside and experiencing nature instead of sitting to me is the kiss of death. And I have told my patients that for years. I don't care how ill you are. Don't sit in that recliner day after day after day. Get up and move and let the morning sunlight hit you in the face, and breathe and scrunch your toes in the grass, because those things are the foundations, the literal foundations of health.
Thank you. And we have guests joining us, so feel free, Liz and John. Thank you so much for joining us on this Red Alert Diaries Live. Is there anything that you would like to ask or comments you'd like to share? Just ladies first. Let's just make this easy. Liz. Able to unmute?
Hello, this is amazing. Thank you so much for having me and for bringing this to light. So interesting. I am very, very interested about food and getting my diet back on track. And you were talking about the blue zones, and I actually saw a documentary about it, and it was really interesting, the types of foods that they eat, the fact that they're out picking up wood and doing stuff, as you said, in nature. And it's an amazing concept, and it's like, well, why aren't we all doing it? Like, wow.
So I hadn't really heard about the blue zones much, but as you were discussing elements of it, caught the clue, because my great 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 aunt, Aunt Josephine, she was on her farm all the time. She grew her own food. She cut her own things. She was the first person I ever knew that showed me how to kill a chicken and cut it and clean it and no. Her home sustained her. She ate what she made, and going into town, she did travel around with that. But the elders always made the statement, God never designed us to be lethargic or sit still. Anything God created, if it remains still and stagnant, it dies. Tell us a little bit more about the blue zone for others that have never heard about it.
So there's different areas, and they're all over the world. They are in Italy, and in over in Asia. Which one is it? I think it's in Okinawa. It's in Okinawa. Hawaii, the big island of Hawaii, just got its blue zone status. Loma Linda, California has been for a long time, and they actually are a religious group that lives there. They're vegan, and which is unusual for a blue zone. And a lot of people go, well, veganism is better. Not necessarily from a medical standpoint, because there are certain nutrients that you need from animal protein that we can't get any other place. But if you are getting those or supplementing for those, then a vegan diet is amazing. But getting to me, I am so blessed. I have a ranch in Idaho. I have been the gal who raised her own food. I had chickens, and I had pigs, and I had sheep and goats and cows, and I had a big garden, and I'm super busy now and I don't have any help, so I don't do it as much as I used to. But I still have my herbs. In fact, Liz loves when I put on my Jana's Gems, I put my herbs and stuff and tell people what herbs are good for what. But I think that getting outside, literally getting outside and being with people and eating with people, these are all part of the blue zones. And we've lost that. Here again, this is great. And this is community, being on Zoom and on a podcast and everything. We get to interact with each other. But it's not the same as being able to sit down around a huge dinner table, either with a family or a whole village, and eating a meal. And yet our whole society is built around food. We celebrate with it, we mourn with it, everything is based around food, and it's not really the good food. Now, 100 years ago, less, we could actually go to the farmer next door and go, hey, I have this, can you give me that, and we'll trade, and so both of us have some. And all that was organic back then, so they didn't have to worry about it. Cancers and autism and all of that didn't really have the hold that it does today, because today we eat highly processed foods. You do not find any highly processed foods in blue zones. They do not eat them, the ultra or the high, and because they're deadly. They are absolutely deadly. They also watch the new thing, and this is really scary, is microplastics. They don't drink bottled water so much. Everybody should have a water filter, and they should have either a stainless steel bottle that they carry it around and drink from, or a glass bottle that they carry around and drink from. Because on average, every person eats a credit card worth of plastic every week. Every week. And they are finding these microplastics, they get absorbed because now we have malabsorption problems in our gut, and they're finding it in our veins. So people that have cardiovascular disease, they go in to fix all the plaque in the plugged up artery, and they have a hard time doing it because there's actually plastic particles that not only do they have the plaque and the cholesterol in there, but the plastic is in there, making it just hard to even get out. Now that's scary.
Let's pause, because I don't think enough people are paying attention to the fact that a lot of our convenient packaging, because you throw it in the microwave, it's really easy, but it's in plastic. We carry a lunch around, but because it's really easy, we wrap it in plastic. Tupperware, beautiful thing. I have my Tupperware as well, but I use it to tote things, not heat things. There's a difference. When I asked my husband when we got together, changing over some things, because we have the glass containers and they got the plastic tops because it's just easy. But the glass container is a lot easier. Yes, that lunch bag is heavy, because he picks with me. He's like, what are you carrying here? I'm like, everything in there is glass. So pick it with me. And I have my
Good woman. That's awesome, because not a lot of people do that.
But tell us more about how we can, because some individuals find it a little hard to separate themselves from the conveniences. How can they find out how to work through structuring their lives a little bit better? It's a little easy for them to remove themselves from their plastic dependency with their foods.
So to me, knowing the health risks, it's like I would rather go spend the money on a decent water filter and stick it either in my fridge or on the kitchen counter so that it's easy to refill. And, the $30 for a really good stainless steel water bottle that you can carry around with you, then, think that I may have a really serious problem that might not be reversible so easy because I'm being convenient. The other thing that I want to say towards convenience too, and the glass containers are fantastic. And I want to tell you that the plastic lids on the glass containers usually aren't so bad. That's like a minimal exposure. So that's really, really good. But if you are heating your food up in your microwave, especially starches like rice or a potato, and it's not in a soup where there's a lot of liquid, those carbohydrates are turning into polymers, which here again is a plastic and it's a toxin. So don't, convenience of a microwave is not good for us. Most of us should be either cooking their food, at the time they're going to consume it, or if they're going to take it for lunch the next day, try not to make it into something that they have to reheat in the microwave. A lot of kitchens and a lot of businesses now are actually bringing back stoves or a toaster oven or something else besides a microwave, because microwaves are not good. And for heaven's sakes, wait for the microwave to go off before you open that door. Because here again, if you open the door before the little bell goes off and it's finished cooking, you're releasing microwaves right at yourself.
Now you can stop it and let it in. For those of you that are like, I always do that, you can push the stop button. But thank you for sharing that. Here's the thing that I know a little bit about it with the starches. Hadn't thought about it, but because when I have a few starches, it is sweet potato. Lots of times I am heating, but I'm heating that with my vegetables. So I have some liquids in there. So okay, for those of you that are watching on YouTube, I know you are listening to her, but at this moment, I'm going to switch it over and make it Tanya time. So when I'm eating my vegetables and I have it with my sweet potatoes, am I still doing okay? Or do I need to make some other adjustments?
It's better, but it's not great. It's not
Even
optimal.
if it's just a minute and a half, because I don't need a lot of time to heat that up because I let it sit out. So I won't have to let it sit in the microwave for very long. What are your thoughts?
Right. And that is better. That is better. And the other thing is, people like to go and they want to make sure it's whatever it is like piping hot. The longer you leave it in, the more that's going to affect your food. So I have gotten instant pots are great. And you can get the little baskets and you can put your food in it and a little bit of water in the bottom and screw that lid on and steam it for a few minutes and everything comes back almost as fresh as it did the day that you cooked it. So I have been leaning towards that. There might be a little spendy, the pressure cooker pots, but I gotta say, they are so worth it.
I love mine. I have those. So let's pause really quick. John, we're going to wrap up in a little bit. Are there any comments, questions, or thoughts that you have for Jana? Able to unmute?
All right, so you now I'm happy to
Oh,
everything
John, we're half hearing you. So we're going to just catch up with you. Looks like you're driving also, so be safe. Don't try to multitask, but so much. Thank you for joining. But there's a couple of things I want to just touch on because you shared in this morning's episode, for those of you that did not listen, she shared with us some elements about a health element. We've already talked about how eating what you eat profoundly affects your health. But there is a sad food crisis that we are struggling with in America. Give us a little more information about the sad crisis that's dealing with the metabolic issue that we are discussing.
So what Tanya is speaking of is the standard American diet, SAD for short, and sad it is. We we are so used to, here again, convenience, going to the grocery store and shopping in the middle aisles. And people think of highly processed foods and ultra processed foods as things like bacon and sausage and things like that, but that's not true. A lot of and I hate to use brand names, but things like Hamburger Helper, all those things, macaroni and cheese, all those things that you get, and your family loves them and they're easy. You can take it home, you can boil some water, you can mix it up and serve it to your family. But if you cannot read all the ingredients on that label and identify them, actually know what they are, don't eat it, because the preservatives themselves, I mean, think about that. It's a preservative. When you eat that preservative, I mean, granted, we all want to live as long as we can, but preservatives are not the way to do that. We need to preserve our health through our diet. living it, I have a saying, if it was not alive yesterday, don't eat it. And that, for the most part is really true. I love to grow, like I have my tomatoes, like we were talking earlier, and there's nothing better than cooking with fresh herbs. Oh my gosh, and I have them everywhere. I love my herbs, and I try to save as many as I can in the fall. When it gets to be too cold, I dig them up and bring them inside. And if they don't live, then I plant more just as an indoor plant. But cooking cooking is an adventure. Cooking can be fun. Eating real food. Here again, grass-fed meats, not, the factory farmed, not the chickens that have been in the little tiny. We were talking in a class that I was in the other day. A normal chicken breast is, he said, a B cup, okay? And the ones that you get in the store are like a double D. So question where that chicken came from. It's really worth the extra money in the long run because you're going to save it on health expenses later. You think you're doing right by your family, you think you're doing right by you, and yet you've got fatigue, you've got a fuzzy head, you've got not, things just don't feel right. I'm 61 now. I turned 61 a few days ago, and I tell everybody I want to live to be 150. That's my goal. And as long as I can be vital and contribute and play with my grandson and go on adventures and camp and grow my garden and do the things, that's what's important. So if you are one of those people that just absolutely don't like to cook, try to make it fun. Try to make a game out of it. Teach your kids, make it a family occasion. So, and food is lovely. Food is absolutely lovely if we know how to eat it and when to eat it and why to eat it.
So for those of you that grew up like I did, where food is your friend, food when you're happy, food when you're sad. When I was a little girl and scraped my knee and came in the house, my grandmother would say, go in there, get some water, dust it off, and then she'd see me go get something to eat. So if you were raised like I have been raised, some of these statements about how you're dealing with food makes you wonder, okay, can I really eat what I really want? One of the things that was shared in this morning's episode was how Jana was saying now, use some spices to recreate some of the things that you love. And if you did not listen to this morning's episode, then you really need to go back because in the comment section, the special gift, thank you, Jana, that she has offered to us is in the comments below. I might not, I'm not sure yet, put it underneath this, but it is definitely under season 3, episode 48 that came out this morning. So go back and listen. One of the things that you shared, Jana, that I'm really appreciative because we're going to have to start sort of semi-wrapping this up. You gave us some insight about how we were walking through with the different things that we're putting in our food. People that are living in the city may be thinking, okay, you've told us all this stuff about our diet. Great. Now you're telling me I got to do all this organic stuff. Should grow it ourselves. We came out yesterday. How am I supposed to do that? Now there are people that are paying better attention to how we are managing our health. You can have urban eatery spaces. There are people that are growing tomatoes on the balcony of their apartments. There are little herb centers that you can put in the windowsill of your home. Can you expand on that a little bit more? Because I know you have greater information than I do about it.
They actually make the most beautiful little herb pots now, and you can put like 9 different herbs in one pot. And like you said, grow it on your balcony. You don't need a huge space. You can get a decent sized pot and stick a tomato plant in there and a pepper plant right by it. It's not that you can't have things that you love. In fact, you should eat the food that you love. Tomatoes are fantastic and help fight against a lot of cancers. Chocolate. I want to end here with some happy news. Chocolate is really good to help cardiovascular type issues, but you have to eat the 80% or more dark chocolate, but savor it. Sugar to me is, I mean, everybody loves sugar. We're all addicted to sugar, and it's one of the biggest things that impacts our health negatively. But there's other things that you can do to spice something up. Dates are fantastic. They have a lot of iron in. They help a lot of processes. Pomegranates. I love pomegranate seeds, especially sprinkled on my salad. If you know of somebody who has issues with swelling, edema, and they like watermelon, have them eat a big slice of watermelon, but have them eat the white up above it, because that's a really good diuretic. So in the summertime, and that's why this is a really great time for this to come out now. Most communities, even in the cities, have, like Tanya was saying, different little markets and things where you can get homegrown things. But farmers markets, even if you have to take a Saturday and go for a drive out into the countryside somewhere, what a lovely thing to do is take a drive, relax, go have a nice, nutritious picnic, and, go and find some really nice food. And people really kind of try to shy away from the organic. And I want to say something about that. Organic doesn't just mean that it's, higher priced and it's grown a certain way, but they're finding that all the phytonutrients in there, when the little bugs bite the plants and the plants have to heal, it actually increases the good phytonutrients for us. So there is, reasons to try to spend a little bit more on food. And farmers usually, even if it doesn't say it's certified organic, usually do try to grow things a little bit more healthy. So just reach out. And it's a good way to, here again, grow your community for health.
Thank you for that. And so there's one other thing that I know in this morning's episode that you shared that I want to make certain that those that are listening to us right now, you shared how everybody's health journey is unique. And you have created a program that tailors what they can receive, how they function. Tell us a little bit more about the program that you offer to help us get into a better position.
So I have 3 different ways of dealing with me online. People can buy a package of 3 sessions with me. It's $500. I know that's a little spendy to some people, but they fill out this huge health history questionnaire, and then I meet with them. But I spend a lot of time looking at that health history questionnaire, because that alone tells me a lot of stuff. And then we Zoom like this 3 times. The initial one is usually quite long, and then we discuss how they might be able to change their lifestyle to accommodate better health. And then we come back a couple of weeks later and we check up again, and then a couple of weeks later and again. And if they want to continue that, then they can buy more product or more, time with me. Anyway, and then I have the Better Everyday course that is just, it's for people whose health has really started to kind of deteriorate. They may be facing cancer or, have gone through chemotherapy and things for cancer, but their health is still recovering from the treatments. It could be for people with lots of inflammation from from autoimmune issues, heart disease, things like that. So they need a little bit more time. And anyway, that program is called Better Every Day. We walk through ways. Here again, it's in a group, but you still get individualized care. And then we have the metabolic reset for people. Here again, they might not feel terrible, but they feel pretty good, and they just really want to get to the next level and make sure that the visceral fat is gone to, the extent that it can be, and they want to get their mojo back and feel really young. And that is my metabolic reset program. And you can find me on Facebook. My webpage is still not up and running, but I am not hard to find. Once you find me, if you want to private message me, I answer those. And if I have not answered yours for some reason or another, leave me a little thing on Facebook and says, hey, Jana, I'd really like to connect on my page. I don't care. And I will get back with you. I am a people person. I love people. I still have a clinical practice of my own where I see people. And my whole thing is I like to help. So I am here if you need me.
Thank you so much for that. So you have heard this amazing information, and this was the extended conversation from this morning. So if you want to hear a little more about what Jana shared, go back and listen to this morning's episode. Jana, thank you so much. And if you all are paying attention and you are ready to make the changes that you need, you see how she has in her background helping to solve the metabolic health crisis one life at a time. She truly means that because she shared earlier, if you didn't hear, Jana's gems. Jana gives these great insights. So go and find her. Even if you're not quite sure you're ready, you want to just plug and play a little bit, she doesn't mind you plugging and playing with her. Find out what you need. Get the health changes that will help you impact, because if you're going to do this thing in life that you choose, that you want to make the impact that so many people want to have, you can't do it if your health isn't there. So we are at time, everyone. I want to say thank you so much again, and we look forward to